This is Ed Tracy at edwardctracy.com, and we're at the Rockdale County Board of Elections, where people are gathering right now. The Elections Board and the inspector from the Secretary of State's office is here to look over the provisional ballots. There are a high number of provisional ballots in Rockdale County compared to other surrounding counties. From what we've been able to learn from our sources, 70 of those provisional ballots were good, and 2/3 of them were thrown out. They're also going to count tonight some military ballots that we have, and what hangs in the balance are one race for the sheriff between Eric Levett, the challenger and the Democrat, and Sheriff Jeff Wigington, who is ahead by 18 votes. All other remaining seats in Rockdale County, and to the surprise of everyone here in Rockdale County. And so we're here tonight. There's observers here, there's lawyers here, there's the candidates that are here. In an outside shot, depending on what vote is with the military and everything else, there's an outside shot that the tax commissioner's race may also be close, but right now it's a couple of hundred votes out. So that's it, and they're about to get started with the meeting, so we'll put the cameras on the meeting.
evening.
We wasn't expecting this large of a crowd, but welcome everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Cynthia Welch, and I'm the supervisor of elections here. We're going to go ahead and get started with the process of counting the provisional ballots. Mr. Todd is going to give you guys a breakdown of how many provisional ballots that we have. Before we get started with provisional ballots, we're going to conclude the absentee ballots, meaning the military ballots that we have been waiting on. So we'll start with those first. We will give the results of the absentee ballots, and then at that time we will move forward with the provisional ballots. Okay, so Mr. Todd, I'll have you come up. And for those that do not know the board members, we have William Todd here. He's the chair of the Board of Elections. We have Johnny Brown, who's the Republican representative on the board. And we also have Mrs. Karen James, who's the Democratic representative on the board. Okay, and in the back we have the staff of the Board of Elections.
Good evening. I'm William Todd. The other night, it was an exciting night for everyone. We had a good election. I think that the staff here did an excellent job of doing their job, and I want to commend them, and also the members of the Board of Elections that were here. Johnny Brown and Ms. Karen James did an excellent job. And I guess one of the worst results that could come out is to have an extremely close election like this, 18 votes. And the question came up of provisional votes. And some of you might have heard the word provisional votes, and even though you're here, don't know what it really means. So what is a provisional vote? There were 237 provisional votes that were cast. And these are people who, for some reason or another, when they get to the poll and they fill out the paper they're supposed to fill out, for some reason they should not be able to vote at that precinct, but they let them vote anyway. And that's because we want every person's vote to count. And so it's kind of like if you've ever played golf and you get a mulligan or something like that, you know, they go ahead and let you hit the ball, and then later on go back and decide whether to count it or not. And so you had some people that showed up who had no ID. And now you have to have a certain accepted form of ID when you go to vote, and some people didn't have it. So there were 9 people that happened to them, and they let them vote anyway. And so we had to go through, I call them the 9, to see if these people should be allowed to vote. They were given until today, I believe at 5 o'clock, to come in with their IDs, or their votes would not be counted. And one person came up here with a copy of their birth certificate. So we're counting that person, okay? What about voting in the wrong precinct? If you vote in the wrong precinct, now there's some people, I think they may have been instructed, you need to go to your precinct, but if you didn't want to do that, if you wanted to go ahead and vote anyway, they would give you a provisional ballot and let you vote. But what happens to those people's votes? If it's an election like the sheriff's race, that vote's going to count, okay, because it's a countywide thing. But if you're in the wrong House district, you're voting for a race that you've got nothing to do with, that's not going to count. That's going to be called a partial. And so only the votes that they are allowed to vote on in that particular precinct are going to count, and the other ones are not going to count. Then you have someone who says that they registered to vote, but there's no record that they registered. Well, rather than the poll workers having to sit there and argue with them about it, they go ahead and give them a provisional ballot and let them vote. And those provisional ballots are some of those that we had to consider since the election the other night. What about if you're not a U.S. citizen? That's another situation where they have to prove citizenship, so they would have to come in here and bring proof of citizenship in order for their votes to count. And I'm including that situation within the 9 that I told you about. What if you're a felon? Now, I found out something this week I did not know, and I guess I should know this, but if you're a convicted felon, I always thought that you couldn't vote forever. But actually, it's once your sentence is completed, you can vote. But if you look closely at the statute, it says that you cannot register to vote, but you can also not remain on the voting rolls. They basically have to delete you as a voter once you're a felon. And although the statute does not say it, if you're not on the roll, you'd have to go back and you'd have to re-register once you get off, your sentence is completed. Well, how do you know if somebody's a felon? And I've been watching the election people work this week. It's just amazing. They were up here till like 10:30 last night. They've worked every single day, not taking lunch and so forth and so on. But they have all kinds of means of checking out all this. They actually have access to the rap sheets. And they can check and see if that person's still on probation, what their sentence was, everything, and if they're off. Okay? And they actually sent some letters out, I think it was in January, to people that they had some indication they were a felon and they wanted them to respond to the letter. And some of the people didn't respond. And some of those people are the people we're had to consider this week. And so they had to check out all those people that did not respond to the letter just to see if they were felons or serving their sentence or not. And we had 9 people who were felons. And we went through all those people individually. I checked them out myself personally today. And one person was a first offender. We have our district attorney back there. Where's Richard Reed? He will tell you that a first offender, I hope this is so, is not considered a conviction. And so those people, they get to vote. So we had to count that vote. We had several people who were convicted felons, but they were still on probation or something. Those people were kicked out. If they completed their sentences, we counted the votes. And out of the 9 people, we had 5 people, including that first offender, that we had to count their vote, or allow that vote to be counted. So we had 5 out of 9 felons, okay? What about if you registered to vote by mail, but you did not provide an ID when you voted? Well, those were some of the people that are included in the 9 I told you about. What if the information inputted does not match the Department of Driver Services information or the Social Security information? They must show an ID at the precinct also. Those are included within the 9 that I was telling you about. So there's also another exception that did not apply here, is if for some reason the hours are extended for an emergency at a precinct, those people could get a provisional ballot, and that didn't happen here. So we ended up with 237 provisional ballots. Every one of those ballots were gone. They're kept. First of all, they kept locked up. Okay, we got a call from somebody today. I think it was Fox 5 News, said somebody had found some provisional ballots in a dumpster someplace, and that was news to us because these things were locked up in here the night of the election. They're kept under lock and key, and they're taken out under very tightly controlled circumstances. And these ballots were taken out, and I personally observed the staff working on them. And they have records from the Department of Driver Services that they can check. And I don't know if you know this or not, they passed something called Motor Voter. You ever heard of that? When you apply for a driver's license now, they ask you, if you're a resident of that county, if you want to register to vote. And we actually had some people who said no. And some of those people cast ballots in this election. They were not registered to vote here. They had a chance to register. They said no, and they went ahead and voted anyway. Did we count those votes? No. Okay? We didn't count. And so I started out Wednesday morning just as mad as a wet hen, trying to figure out all this and wanting to know, well, because I had people gossiping about it and saying, well, there are people who don't live in this county who are allowed to vote. But there's all kinds of ways that they're checking on all this. The Department of Driver Services, the criminal record. Did you know that if you go down and get a jury service notice and you go in and say, well, look, I am not a resident of Rockdale County, because you just don't want to serve as a juror, that information is provided to the voter office over here. So some people got kicked out for that reason. They actually provided evidence that they were not registered voters here and they were not living here and that their votes were not counted. We had 237 of these provisional ballots, and 71 of them were accepted. And I did the numbers on it, 30%, just slightly under 30%, 29-point-something% were accepted. Roughly 70% were rejected. And so you could see that a lot of scrutiny was given here to make sure that it was done right. Now, so we have 166 rejected votes, we have 71 accepted votes. And we also have 19 votes that we are going to consider tonight, and 10 of those are called duplicate ballots. These are ballots that went through the machine. We get these absentee ballots that go through the machine, and for some reason the machine just won't take them. And Johnny Brown, where's Johnny? Johnny's sitting over here, and he had this sorry machine that I know from the primary that for some reason it just doesn't like the ballots when they go through, and you have to feed them through 2 or 3 times. And then Karen James has this great one over there that works so well. And we actually, the other night, we had to switch machines because Johnny's got hung up. And we had another machine. We had the same computer card for that. They went all through. But we ended up with 10 ballots that just wouldn't go through. And those have to be manually counted tonight. We have 9 what we call overvotes. Overvotes are votes where someone changed their answer. And then they mark something else, and the machine will not take it. And we have a committee, and I'm on the committee, and also Mr. Campbell from the Democratic Party's on the committee, and Ms. Folsom. Where's Ms. Folsom? Okay, and we're supposed to go through these 9 votes, and we look at them, and we discuss everything, and we see if we can reach agreement on whether these votes should be counted. And we have to do this for all of the races, but particularly the sheriff's race, because that's the one that's in the most dispute. And hopefully there won't be any changes made there, so we won't have to discuss it. But if we did, we would have to vote, and 2 votes out of 3 would decide it. And if none of us vote in favor of it, it's called as is, and it's put over here, and it's not counted. So then we have 103 military votes. And they have a law that says that you have to give these military people time, as long as they postmark it before the day of the election, that we have to count their votes. And they're given until 5 o'clock today for those votes to get here. How many military ballots were sent out?
161.
161, and we got 103 back, right? Okay, so some people didn't do it. And the way they do it is they're actually allowed to print out their ballot and fill it out and then mail it in, so those will not go through the machine, so we're going to have to go through those 103 manually and count those votes tonight. So if you add all this up, you end up with 193 votes out there that will decide that election. And so, at this time, any questions? Okay.
The process that's going on right now is they're taking ballots and they're recreating ballots that would not go through a machine, but that there is no question on their validity. They're numbering them, and then they'll go into the machine, and these ballots they're filling out will actually, the machine will read them automatically. That's my understanding of what's going on at this table.
Thank you. Thanks.
History football. What time's the game?
Oh, it's like Acorn.
Ready? Okay,
I'm not going to properly say that.
Steve, is this okay the way I'm doing it?
Say that we all.
Stand
That's
well.
right. That's
This is number 10 and 12. Is there another team that comes? I'll let you be advised by saying that we're happy. Just I'm glad. Exactly. You're the two. Exercise it right, and you're left. This will be 11:20. Is State Senator, nobody on the next one. State Representative, on the next one, nothing. Judge Todd, Superior Court, Sheriff Jeff Baker.
Give everybody a run those through the tax thing. I'll see if I can get this to
Commission Chair,
We may do that. Open it up while they go over
okay, we're now on 12. Chuck Eaton. Did you get Jim Honey? Joe Coggins.
10-minute break, and then we'll count.
Jason Hill. John Harrison. Yes. Two yes. Concur. There we go. Okay, this is field state?
Just about there.
Not saying they found ballots in the trash.
All right, Mr. Todd, if you just on the camera.
Attention bills, huh?
This statement first. If you are a candidate for sheriff or a candidate for tax commissioner, if you're here, I know both the sheriff's candidates are here. I didn't see the tax commissioner candidates here. Are any of them here tonight? No. Okay. If you are, if you feel like you are within 1% of the difference between your opponent, you're entitled to apply for an automatic recount. And we are going to meet at 1 o'clock tomorrow at this office to certify the results. And you should come prepared if you want to ask for a recount to bring your application for the recount at that time. If we receive it then, we plan to have the recount at 9:30 on Monday, which is a holiday. We're going to do it at 9:30 on Monday here. And so, with that said, I'm going to read the results of the tax commissioner first. the results are as follows. Dan Ray had 18,320 votes, or 49.44%. Mr. Hadley had 18,733, for 50.56%. So with that race, it's 1.12%, so it's really a little bit outside the automatic 1%. If a request for a recount was made, it would be up to the Board of Elections and their discretion whether to grant it or not. But there's no automatic right to the recount. In the sheriff's race, Jeff Wigington had 18,726 votes, or 49.96%. Eric Levett had 18,760 votes, or 50.04%. So Mr. Levett won the election. Okay, one more thing. One more thing is the printed results. Are we going to have the printed results for people?
We have them now.
Okay, the printed results that we have not been corrected. They have the write-in votes there, so the percentages are not going to be correct on here. But I have given you the correct percentages. It's 50.04% for Mr. Levitt and 49.96% for Mr. Wigginton. And for the tax commissioner's race, it's 49.44% for Mr. Ray and 50.56% for Mr. Hadley. Thank you.
All I can say is my Lord and Savior did not fail me. Not that I didn't think he would. So here we are. I want to thank the citizens of Rockdale County, everyone who supported me and everyone who supported Wigginton for just coming out and voting in general. And I want everyone to know that Rockdale County, I have Rockdale County my best interest at heart. And we are planning to serve Rockdale County well.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Levett?
Thank you.
Mr. Levett?
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We just want to ask you a couple of questions. I know you probably have to think about it, but what will be the major thing that will change on day one with Rockdale County Sheriff's Office?
Well, first of all, as I stated earlier, I will, the three candidates that I have in mind for a chief deputy, that will be one of the first things that I'll look into doing first. And then, of course, as I think the next smart move is, we need to audit the entire agency and see what we're working with when we look at the budget. So those are the first things that we'll do.
Okay.
No immediate changes that we'll make. Have meetings with all the staff.
Do you think that you will lay off and bring on your own senior people, or will you keep the same people that are there?
I have no intentions in getting rid of anyone.
Very good, very good. Ms. Levitt, just tell us, congratulations, just tell us how you feel right now.
I'm feeling wonderful right now. This is my husband's lifelong dream, and I'm glad he was able to do it.
Well, congratulations.
I'm very proud of
Thank you.
him.
Thank you.
Jeff?
I read Deputy Commander.
I got you next to your county.
You got me next to your county?